Azure AI SDKs and APIs provide programmatic access to Azure AI services, enabling developers to seamlessly integrate AI capabilities into applications and systems. These tools simplify interaction with complex AI models, reduce development time, and enable consistent and robust AI implementations. By leveraging appropriate SDKs and APIs provided by Microsoft Azure, developers can quickly implement and scale applications across various domains, including generative AI, computer vision, natural language processing, speech recognition, information extraction, and knowledge mining. SDKs, software development kits, and APIs, application programming interfaces, act as crucial bridges, allowing developers to access and leverage Azure's AI service features directly from their applications. They provide ready-to-use functions, tools, and documentation, significantly accelerating development speed. SDKs encapsulate complexity, offering streamlined interactions through simplified methods and objects. APIs facilitate direct communication between applications and Azure services, affirming interoperability across various development environments and programming languages, vital for rapid innovation and deployment of scalable AI solutions. Selecting the right Azure AI SDK depends on several factors, including the programming language used, service requirements, development environment, and necessary integration levels. Programming language compatibility. Choose an SDK supporting your preferred language, e.g., Python, .NET, Java, JavaScript. Project requirements. Align with specific AI service needs, vision, speech, language processing, etc. Development tools. Consider SDK integrations with existing tools and IDEs, such as Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Evaluating these elements ensures compatibility, performance optimization, and streamlined development. To install an Azure AI SDK for Python, developers typically use the pip package manager, facilitating package management and installation. Bash pip install Azure AI Text Analytics. This example installs the Azure Text Analytics SDK. Before installation, ensure your Python environment meets requirements outlined in official Azure documentation. Regularly verify package versions to maintain compatibility. Use Python virtual environments, venv, to isolate packages and encapsulate dependencies effectively, ensuring clean, conflict-free environments for project-specific needs. For .NET, Azure AI SDK's installation is streamlined using NuGet Package Manager. Execute through Visual Studio's Package Manager console or via .NET CLI. Bash.NET add package Azure.ai.text analytics. Ensure your .NET project targets compatible frameworks specified in Azure's official documentation. SDKs for different Azure AI services have clearly defined namespaces and dependencies required for smooth integration into your existing .NET projects. Maintain compatibility by regularly checking and updating package versions. Azure AI SDKs and APIs require robust security and authentication mechanisms. Using Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, for authentication grants secure, role-based access control. API keys. Quick setup. Ideal for initial prototyping, less secure long-term. Azure AD. Preferred option involving tokens, offering granular role and permission management. Security best practices. Store sensitive information securely. Use Azure Key Vault. Never expose API keys directly in application code repositories. Regularly rotate keys and tokens, auditing access frequently to ensure integrity and compliance. Azure AI services expose RESTful APIs, supporting diverse programming environments and platforms outside of available SDKs. REST APIs offer flexibility in SDK-available languages and scenarios. Features include uniform HTTP methods, GET, POST, interoperability, simple JSON-based request-response interactions, extensive official documentation, examples, and guidelines. Simultaneously utilize SDKs for simplicity and APIs for scenarios demanding granular control or specific implementations unsupported directly by SDK complexities. Below is a simple HTTP POST request example utilizing Azure Cognitive Services Text Analytics API for sentiment analysis. HTTP POST https://.cognitiveservices.azure.com/text/analytics/v3.1/sentiment OCPPM subscription key. Content type application/JSON documents ID 1 language in text. I love the Azure AI services. Analyze responses as JSON, involving straightforward parsing for integration within broader app functionalities. Using Azure SDK and application development simplifies authentication and API consumption. Python example for sentiment analysis. Python from Azure.ai.TextAnalytics import text analytics client from Azure.core.credentials import Azure key credential endpoint equals _key equals _key client equals text analytics client endpoint Azure key credential key response equals client.analyze_sentiment. Azure SDKs are fantastic. For result in response, print sentiment. Format result the sentiment. This concise, intuitive approach highlights SDK benefit, straightforward, readable methods. For complex AI capabilities, Azure AI SDKs commonly support asynchronous programming model, maximizing performance efficiency in scalable applications requiring multiple concurrent requests. Python async example. Python import Essentio from Azure.ai.TextAnalytics. AIO import text analytics client from Azure.core. Credentials import Azure key credential async def analyze_async. Client equals text analytics client. Endpoint Azure key credential key. Async with client. Response equals await client.analyze_sentiment. Document sadface async is effective. Essentio.run analyze_async. This pattern significantly improves throughput, reducing application response time under heavy workloads. Efficient SDK troubleshooting involves reviewing logs, understanding common errors, and leveraging Azure diagnostic tools. Common errors, authentication errors, invalid keys, insufficient permissions, incorrect endpoints. Use Azure Monitor for real-time diagnostics and logging. Enable detailed logging, Azure Core, for advanced output within your development environment. Python import logging.basicconfig, logging.getLogger, Azure.setLevel, logging.debug, proactively identify problems, leveraging SDK community support forums and official Azure issue tracking on GitHub. Adhering to best practices is crucial for secure, efficient Azure AI integration. Security stores sensitive credentials in Azure Key Vault. Performance. Use asynchronous SDK implementations for heavy workloads. Maintainability. Regularly update SDK dependencies. Scalability. Leverage Azure SDK retry and timeout guidelines for robust handling. Follow recommended architecture patterns from Azure documentation to design long-lasting, maintainable, high-quality solutions.